Hello and welcome to another special edition bonus 10-year anniversary special of the Constructive Criticism Podcast. I'm joined by the last founder. We've done Kyle, we've done Casey. It's time to get the witch Kling in here. Matt Kling, what's up, man?
What's up?
Dude, we should be recording our other podcast right now, but, this has to get done too.
Yeah, that's fair. It's only so much time.
So, for those who don't know, Matt Kling is one of the original co-hosts of Constructive Criticism. Been on many different eras of the show, and is my current co-host of the inconsistent but always fun Smash Through podcast.
Yeah, those are the two things that I would describe that podcast as, so that makes sense.
Inconsistent but always fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Matt, you were on the very first episode of Constructive Criticism. You were part of the planning of the show. You probably stayed for another, 30 to so episodes to start the show off. Maybe longer than that. I don't remember. Came back to the show to do it with me and Michael. Then came back to the show again after John and Seth left to do it with me. Did some episodes with Mason before Sky joined the show. I gotta ask, you've been a part of the show for so long, but what did you think when I was like, hey, I'm doing a 10-year celebration?
Yeah, it's wild to think that it's been 10 years. And also we had the predecessor, the spiritual predecessor to constructive criticism, which I still remember. I'm certain that, there's no living proof of that anymore, but yeah, it's very interesting to me. And what I really appreciated, especially today when I was thinking about it, was how much the podcast evolved from where we started it to where it is now, but how true you've stayed to the vision that you've had for the podcast, at least over the last, I don't know, maybe the first 10 episodes or something were kind of different, but then after that it's been pretty on point.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. That means a lot to me personally. But I think about I wanted to do new podcasts, and I was always talking with Kyle about the type of things we want to do. I didn't like what the direction that our old podcast is going. It felt corny and not helpful, and I wanted to help the Magic community and kind of change what I was working on. And we all were these PTQ grinders that just wanted to do a show that we would want to listen to about what is important in constructed Magic right now that can help me go to a PTQ. I don't know, you're a huge part of that vision.
Yeah, I think that the thing that really stands out to me about constructed criticism as opposed to other constructed Magic podcasts is how evergreen a lot of the topics are, right? It's more, there are plenty of podcasts about the meta and different things like that, but this one, I feel like you can walk away from any episode of CC, or most at least, and feel like you've taken something away that will last you forever. And oftentimes it doesn't even necessarily need to apply to Magic, so that's always pretty great.
Is there anything that you think of when you think of your eras that you hope people picked up?
From my era specifically, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything specific that I can think of like that.
Yeah. You just said that the best era was me, you, and Michael. You said that.
Well, yeah, I obviously I'm biased though. So I don't know how many people agree with that necessarily.
But. It's funny. I think about some of the episodes that we did early on and how we revisited them with Michael when it was me and Michael, or me, you, and Michael, about managing your resources, or that one became almost like a catalyst for hundreds of episodes of the show of different ways and different reasons that that's important, and how it's a game of resources. And you were a huge part of that. Do you have any?
So here's the thing. Here's why, at least for me, that will always be the most special time of CC, because that was during my biggest growth as a player.
Yeah.
not only just like talking to Michael all the time, like really broadened everything that I thought about Magic. Like he's just a very smart individual and had a deep understanding of the game and helped me really level up my game. But also at that point in time, I was probably, playing 10 GPs a year or whatever. So like I was really playing a lot of high level Magic, and that's why that era will always be very special to me.
Yeah, having you and Michael, going to these Grand Prix and doing well and going to the Pro Tour, like I think I certainly brought. I think the has something really special that people got to witness. Me, you, Quentin, Michael, Casey all qualify for our first Pro Tours while doing the show and like applying the things that we talked about on the show to our game to get better. And there was like this real evolution of us as players as we did the show and we were practicing what we preached. And it brought a level of credibility to what we were saying, because it wasn't like we were just like spouting out nonsense, right? Like it was, hey, this is what we're learning, this is what we're doing to improve, and like we're not perfect and we're not here to pretend that we know everything. It's just this is what we're learning and these are the things that we're questioning.
Yeah, and I think honestly there's some correlation there even beyond just like us simultaneously getting better at Magic and also doing the podcast. Like I do think that having to explain yourself in a format like this is a good way to improve at Magic. So I think that the podcast helped us all get there even more than just like being temporally related.
You talked about that being your favorite area. Is there like a favorite specific podcast memory?
Oh, I don't know if I could come up with anything specific like that. I'm really bad on the spot like that.
I know one of yours.
Okay.
Do you remember? I don't remember if it was episode 200 or 300, where we're wrapping up the show, and we're like, "Where can people find you?"
Yeah, this is the thing that always comes to my mind. It wasn't from that era though, so that's why I didn't mention it. But you know what? It actually might have been from that era. Was that around episode 300 or 200?
I don't know. I don't remember if you were on during that time, but I also, so for those who don't know, there's a moment we mentioned it on the last one of these with Casey because it's one of my favorite memories. So it's like, you don't need to find me, and Mason Clark had this laugh that sounded like a dolphin that got left in the show that also was like really high on my favorite things from that episode.
Yeah, that was great, definitely.
You kind of mentioned this a little bit in talking about the spirit of the podcast, but we have another podcast that talks about always improving, and I'm kind of curious, like, what does always improving mean to you after doing this show for so long and being a part of it?
I think that has evolved for me in some ways. I think that when we first started talking about always improving, I really thought that it was more like, if you don't practice, you're going to get worse. And in some ways it does mean that. But I think it's more of a mindset than an actual day-to-day thing, for me at least at this point. Like I think if you always have the mindset to be improving at something, it will always go better than if you have the mindset to just stagnate or just give up.
Do you apply that anywhere else in your life right now?
I mean, yeah, I think I mostly apply that to everything. I mean, I wish that I applied it more to things that matter. I think that it is very applicable in things that do matter, but I mean, I apply it anytime that I'm approaching any kind of competition. Like, as long as I'm getting better at the thing that I'm trying to do, that's what's really important. Every day that I get better is a day that I'm, closer to where I want to be.
I already know how you're gonna answer this one because you've answered all the other similar questions this way. But is there a training grounds that you remember or an episode that you think people should go back and listen to? No, because you don't think about it.
No, I don't, and I know that there are some that I did really like, but I just can't come up with one right now on the spot.
That's all good, man.
I know I definitely like the evergreen ones more than anything that was topical at the time.
Maybe I'll compile a list.
Yeah, I if you had given me some heads up, I could have thought about it more.
I meant to. I didn't realize that you didn't have access to the show notes before we started the show. It's an always improving moment for me, for sure. Before the show, Matt Kling's like, "Yeah, can you give me access to this doc that you had sent me?" And I was like, "Oh." I thought I'm the worst. What are you kind of like moving forward? We're in this era right now that we've honestly been in for a lot longer than it sometimes feels like, of this Mason, Abe, and Spencer era of the show, and who knows how long this era will be. If we talked about tons of different people. There's still more people. Quentin's going to come on here. We're going to do this with Trey. We're going to do this with John, Seth. Like, is there something that you hope that CC continues to bring moving forward, or that we can bring the listeners moving forward?
Well, yeah, I mean, kind of just like what I was saying. I really like how the show has mostly stayed true to the vision. Like it's mostly about helping people improve, and like I said, in some ways it like transcends just getting better at Magic. Like it's just getting better at doing the things that you love, and I think that I would hope that the podcast always stays true to that more than anything.
Awesome. Well, where can people find you right now if they want to see your MTGO results, if they want to?
I'm not confident that there's a place that you could realistically find me. I do have a Twitter technically, or an X, or whatever we're calling Twitter these days, but that is at the Witch Kling. But yeah, I'm mostly not on social media, so I don't know if you could really find me.
Yeah, but what if they wanted to like listen to a podcast that you were on?
Yeah. Certainly, you can find me on the Constructed Criticism, network or whatever.
The Heezy Media
or
Network.
The Heezy Media Network. Yes, right.
Yeah, there we go. Let's listen to Smash Through. Any shout outs you want to give to anybody from the show or about the show?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's been a part of this. I mean, look at this list of hosts that the show has had over the years. That's amazing. Like, I mean, 10 years. It's really hard to even put that into perspective, that this has been going strong for so long. And I mean, the fact that, man, it feels like you and Mason and Abe have been doing this for a while now. So that's great. I hope that dynamic continues strong as well.
Yeah, I today, I was in our private Discord for the show, and I just was like, I don't know. Last night we had a behind the curtains, like we had like a tough one where like we didn't really save the idea of the topic when we were putting the schedule together, and none of us could really remember what we had written down and like why we wanted to do it. We spent like 20 minutes before the show kind of massaging the topic and what we wanted to present to the listeners. And I don't know, it was like, I just was like, I really love working with these guys. And one day they're going to be gone. Like I'm confident that one day, I mean, they've both, got things that they're trying to achieve that will remove them from the podcast one day. But I want to ride out this era as long as possible. So.
Yep. Nothing's forever, so enjoy it while it's here.
All right. Well, thank you, Matt, so much for coming on and just talking to me about this. I know that I want to give a shout out to you. Like, this podcast wouldn't exist in any form without you, and I hope you know that. Like, while you maybe were only on for 3 to 5 years of the show, like that it would not be possible without you, and I hope the listeners know that and appreciate what you brought and the level of care that when you were on the show, like, you put into competing and being your best. It was always something that I really appreciated.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's very kind.
All right. We'll see everybody next time with another bonus episode of the 10-year anniversary of Constructed Criticism.